What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Good Game Reviews. If you hear anything like buzzing, that's my heater. It's really cold, so I just got it on. This is the Week 16 matchup. Bills at Patriots. Saturday game. Oh man, this is. If you would have told me like at the beginning of the season, and it just went off. If you would have told me at the beginning of the season that this game, this particular game, was going to hold playoff implications in terms of like we may end up losing a first round bye because of this game, because whatever happens in the outcome of this game, a first round bye is on the line. I would have looked at you crazy. I would have been like, really? The Bills? You talking about we have to be concerned about the Bills, but fast forward to this time and the Bills are a 10-game winning team. They got 10 games, 4 losses. Oh, I I would have never predicted it. I would have never predicted it. Never would have seen them get this far. Uh, yeah. Man, this has been a very weird season. Um, but let's go ahead and get into the predictions. First, we will start off with the quarterback position. One thing that I think should be noted when talking about the quarterback position, and I will talk about the Bills first, since they are the away team. Josh Allen. Now, Josh Allen has 18 touchdowns on the year and 9 interceptions overall. And there's a few stories out there that's like, don't pay attention to the numbers, don't pay attention to the stats, pay attention to the wins. And I mean, as much as I agree with that. Pay attention to the wins, don't pay attention to the numbers. I mean, I can't help but to see people paying attention to Tom Brady's numbers. I mean, when it comes to Tom Brady, the discussion is Tom Brady isn't doing enough to help the team win. The whole offense isn't doing enough to help the team win. It's basically them putting it on the back of the defense and hoping that they can keep teams down to a low enough score for them to win games. I mean, but the same could be said about the Bills. I mean, the Bills aren't blowing people out. They're not scoring like 30 plus points. They're a few. These past games have been low scoring games. Um, the game against the Ravens, which they lost 24-17, that was a low scoring game. They lost by a single score. Um, the game that they won, the very last game that they played against the Steelers, that was a 7-point game in which they won 17-10. So these aren't like Josh Allen and their offense isn't just putting up these amazing numbers in each of these games or something like their Baltimore, Kansas City last year or something. Like, no, like they're doing enough to win, just like the Patriots are doing. In fact, if you want to get into the numbers, if we look at Tom Brady over the last three games, if you put together a ratio, factoring in the last 3 games, Tom Brady is 3 touchdowns to 1 interception. Over the past 3 games, he has 6 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. If you look at Josh Allen, though, over the last 3 games, he is averaging 1 touchdown. And I guess if you can put in a fraction on there, I usually don't see people put fractions in ratios, but like 1/3 or something like in terms of interceptions. So he doesn't turn the ball over a lot. He only has one interception over the last 3 games, but he also only has 3 touchdowns over the last 3 games. He doesn't. In each of these games, you can go back 1 touchdown, 1 touchdown, 1 touchdown. He doesn't put up a lot of touchdowns. He does his best not to turn the ball over. I mean, but he still has 9 interceptions. I mean, but lately he hasn't done too much to like put his team in a deep hole. So if you want to look at it that way, if we're going to criticize Brady's numbers coming into this game, then it's only fair to look at Josh Allen to criticize him as well, because neither one of them are the sole reason why their team is winning. Excuse me. So with that being said, that was a as long as I've ever gone in terms of comparing the two quarterbacks. I have to give this one to Tom Brady. Tom Brady edges out Josh Allen in terms of just certain statistics just by like this much, in terms of completion ratio, in terms of completion percentage, in terms of touchdowns. 21 touchdowns to Josh Allen's 18. Um, in terms of passer rating and QBR, he only edged him out by like this much. It is a very small difference, but he still has the better number. Um, but yeah, Tom Brady gets the advantage on this side, so chalk one up to the Patriots. Moving on to the running backs, we have for the Buffalo Bills, Singletary and Gore. Um, Now, while they might not have as much depth as the Patriots do in terms of that running back spot, um, the players that they have who take the field, Gore and Singletary, have produced a lot more in terms of yards and, excuse me, yards per carry on the in terms of what they're able to do on the ground, as opposed to what the Patriots have done on the ground. Um, the Bills edged them out slightly. Now, in terms of just like overall like rushing yards, Sony Michel has more rushing yards than Singletary, but in terms of being able to move the ball on the ground, um, Singletary has been better in that regard. Even over the past 5 games, Singletary has looked better running the ball on the ground than Sony Michel has. And Sony Michel has made some improvements over the weeks, especially if you look back at what he's did earlier on in the season compared to what he's doing over these past few weeks. He's definitely improved, but it's still not better than what Singletary brings to the table, and ultimately what Gore brings, like when he comes behind Singletary. So I give that to the Buffalo Bills. As far as the wide receiver position, uh, on the Bills side, you have, excuse me, on the Bills side, you have John Brown, Cole Beasley, there's one other guy, but as far as like I'm trying to remember the other player's name. Excuse me, it's kind of blanking. But as far as the guys who are like really really producing, it's pretty much Cole Beasley and John Brown. In terms of the wide receiver position, it's those two guys. Um, Now, if you were to compare like the best wide receiver on one side to the best wide receiver on the other side, Julian Edelman has the edge in terms of the numbers. He has a few more receiving yards than him. He has more, yak numbers in terms of yards after catch. He has more of those numbers in his favor. He has more touchdowns than John Brown does. More receptions, more targets. He if it was like just one guy versus one guy, he would win in that regard. But we're factoring everything together, and Cole Beasley also has come along very nicely. He has over 600 yards. He has 5 touchdowns already. He's starting to get more into the flow of the game. They're starting to work Cole Beasley more into the game plan than they did earlier on. And Cole Beasley was actually one of the only receivers who actually did something against the Patriots the last game that they played. So seeing that he's only getting better in that system as time has moved forward kind of poses a problem. In terms of what the Patriots have, Julian Edelman is pretty much the best that they have at the moment, and he's hobbled with injuries. He's downplayed his injuries, but you can obviously tell that he is he's just pushing through it. He's really just pushing through it. And if things were going like they regularly would, then this would probably be a game where Julian Edelman would sit out. He would sit out this game, and he would sit out the next game, and we would rest him until we got to that divisional game, the division round, and then that would be where he would come in. But it is not that simple. Things have changed as the weeks have gone on, and they're definitely going to need Julian Edelman to finish out the rest of the season. Maybe not so much the last game against the Dolphins, but this game in particular, yes, they're going to need him out there, if only as a decoy. That's pretty much what Julian Edelman's role is going to be in this game. The next person under Julian Edelman to really do anything would be Philip Dorsett. But since Philip Dorsett hasn't really gotten the looks, like he did earlier on, it would be more fair to bring in names like Jacoby Myers or guys who are moving up more in this system, like a N'Keal Harry, who I believe is getting more and more opportunities as the season closes out. Being that they weren't able to get him at the beginning of the season because of him being on IR, they've now had to pretty much kind of do kind of like a force, like a force of his growth in terms of getting him, in the flow with the team and all of that. It would have been much easier if we were able to get him week one and go through this and have him already in here and established, but that's not the case. So now they're trying to get him, into the offense more and more each week. And I believe this game coming up will be a game where they're probably going to get the ball into his hands a lot more than they are than guys like possibly Julian Edelman. They're probably going to they might target N'Keal Harry more than they would Julian Edelman, just because Julian Edelman's more than likely is going to be matched up with White, and he's pretty much going to have the duty of taking Edelman out of the game. So more opportunities are going to go to other passers. So you're going to have N'Keal Harry and Mohamed Sanu matched up against other guys, and it's more than likely Tom Brady's probably going to target N'Keal Harry a little bit more in this game. But in terms of comparing the sides, I went ahead and gave this one to Buffalo, only because of the numbers and the production and all of that together. Advantage goes to Buffalo. On to the tight end position. This one was a little bit difficult, only because both sides aren't really as impressive as you might think. You look at the Buffalo side, you look at Knox. Yes, Knox has he has more receiving yardage than any of the tight ends who are going to be on the field that game. But over the past few weeks, he hasn't really been much of anything special. So it was kind of hard, making a decision. But then you look over at the Patriots side, and Ben Watson hasn't really done much of anything, and Matt LaCosse just now seems to kind of be getting into the getting a little bit more into the game plan. He doesn't have a lot of receptions, doesn't have any touchdowns over these past 3 games. So I gave that advantage to Buffalo, only because Croft was able to get a touchdown last week, Tyler Croft. So that was pretty much an easy decision to make. In terms of the O-line, I gave this one to the Patriots only because I was looking at the ability to protect the quarterback, and while the Patriots aren't really that good at protecting the quarterback, it doesn't seem like the Buffalo Bills are that good at protecting him either, considering that he has 37 sacks. So not, as bad as it seems like the Patriots are doing, and they're not even really doing that bad. They're kind of like middle of the pack in terms of pass protection. But in terms of that, yeah, I decided to give that side to the Patriots because they haven't allowed Tom Brady to get a sack as much as Josh Allen, but still nothing really like, if we're comparing it to last season, a really big downgrade in terms of production on the O line, but they managed to edge this one out, so I decided to give that one to the Patriots. Defensive end, that one I decided to give to the Bills. Actually, I gave defensive end and defensive line to the Bills strictly based on numbers. I mean, the sacks just alone, when you take into this, when you take into account this group, it is ridiculous. They have been balling out, and it would, it wouldn't make any sense for me to even try to make a case for the Patriots in this sense. Jordan Phillips, Ed Oliver, all of those guys have been beasts. They've all put up numbers. So yeah, in terms of defensive end and defensive line, I decided to go ahead and give that one to Buffalo Bills. That's definitely going to be a challenge for the offensive line that the Patriots have. They're going to have their hands full with that group. Ed Oliver, oof, man. Yeah, they're going to have their hands full. They're going to have their hands full tomorrow. In terms of the linebacker position, now this is going to come to as a surprise to some people, but I decided to give the Patriots the edge in terms of the linebacker spot. Now I know what you're going to say. You're looking at guys like Maurice Alexander, you're looking at guys like Tremaine Edmonds, and you're thinking, yo, what's wrong with you? Like, are you? But I always say this in every video: don't look at the names. Don't pay attention to the name so much. Pay attention to the level of production and pay attention to recent production, and that's where you'll get your numbers. In terms of tackling, they are by far superior in terms of that statistic category, but just overall plays and overall things like tackles for losses and sacks and things of that nature. The Patriots linebackers have the edge in that. They have more sacks. They have more tackles for loss. Tackles for loss. They've managed to make more plays in terms of turning over the ball. If you're looking at the linebacker position, then you would give that spot to the Patriots. Now, looking over at the cornerbacks and the safeties, I also decided to give that position to the Patriots. And this one was very, very, very close because these two groups for these two teams have been more than dominant. Obviously, the top two, like I believe top two in terms of just that secondary. But the Patriots, they've been dominant over the whole season, and in certain categories, the Patriots just edged them out just by a little bit more. Kind of like when I was talking about the quarterback category, the Patriots secondary, they just edged them out just by a little bit that much. Tre'Davious White would be the best cornerback on the field coming into this matchup if it weren't for one Stephon Gilmore. It's just that close. When you're talking about the level of talent and the production being brought into this matchup, against any other team, you would give this category to the Bills, but this is the New England Patriots, and they squeaked by just this much. So yeah. Special teams, I decided to give that one to the Patriots. In terms of returning, the Bills obviously hold the advantage in that. Kick returns and punt returns, the Bills are better. They have the better numbers. But in terms of kicking, field goals made, and extra points, in terms of the punting game, in terms of what the teams are able to do when the team is returning the ball in terms of uh, plays made on special teams like block punts and things. All of those, I look at the Patriots and they obviously have the advantage on that side. So while in terms of returning, the Bills might be better. In terms of everything else that goes with special teams, the Patriots, they take the cake on that end. So I gave special teams to the Patriots. And as far as coaching, you already know what it is. When it comes to coaching, we have to go with Bill Belichick. We are rarely going to go with anybody else when it comes to coaching. So that category goes to the Patriots. Overall, you have a final score of the Buffalo Bills having 5 and the Patriots having 7. So 5-7, the Patriots nearly edge out a win in terms of the advantages that are brought to this game. I expect this to be another close matchup. Excuse me. Even though the Patriots are at home and this is week 16, I still find this being a close matchup similar to the last matchup that the Patriots had with the Bills. If I were to give a score on this, I would say that it would be somewhere along 20 to 24 points for the Patriots. If I was just going to give a score, I would give the Patriots 20. I'll go ahead and give them 21, and I would give the Buffalo Bills 14. So I could see this being a very close game. I could see this being another one score type game, and the Patriots barely kind of edging out a victory in this game. Only because you're looking at all the matchups, you're looking at the defenses, and you're looking at both defenses, and both are really good. But it's it's pretty much a game of who's going to make the first mistake, who's going to make more mistakes. And when it comes to teams coming into this building, for some reason, as good as the Bills are playing, coming into this matchup, coming into Gillette Stadium, it's just that sense in the air like they're gonna make an uncharacteristic mistake would like be made on the Bills side. They might get a little nervous at one point, might throw a pick, and that could pretty much change the flow of the game. And all of a sudden, the Patriots are up a score, and you're basically seeing each team kind of like chasing each other throughout the game. And it's one of those low scoring games, and by the end of it, Patriots squeak out a victory, and they just move into the next week. So that's pretty much my prediction on it. But as far as that goes, that's all I got as far as the prediction. Tomorrow's game is, like once I said, it's in Gillette Stadium. It is a Saturday game. It is at 3:30. That is the Central Standard Time. If it's Eastern Standard Time, then it's going to be 4:30. So make sure to watch that game because that is obviously going to be the best game of tomorrow. There's 3 games going on tomorrow, but this is obviously going to be the best one. So make sure to check out that game. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time, I'm out.